Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Friday, May the 12th, 2023. Today, I want to talk about politics. Why not? I know a lot of people don't like politics, but for me, it's interesting. It's one of a few things in America that is worth bothering with. I mean, at least in terms of entertainment value. And, one of the questions that I always ask myself is, you know, as an astrologer, can you be a conservative? Now, I'm not saying I am a conservative, um, but there seems to be a view amongst astrologers that it's something progressive. That astrologers, for example, support the Democrats, and you don't get Republican astrologers. Um, and now, from my own perspective, when I look at politics, particularly local politics, I find that the longer I stay in America, the more I despise the Democrats. I went to a meeting over the weekend. These Democrats were holding some meeting to select or introduce candidates to the school board, and it was disgusting, really disgusting. These people, these candidates, they want to support the status quo. Where I am, the education system is a disaster. The schools are in the right bottom, I don't know, 5 or 10 percentile in the state. Yet these people are claiming there's nothing wrong. They ignore things like testing. Testing. How else are you going to know whether um, the education is working? Education is falling apart here, and testing is a way of comparing how one place is doing compared with another place. And when you compare educational performance here compared with state standards, it's quite clear that it's a disaster. Um, Yet these people, these Democrats, were saying, we've got to defend the school board from, the nasty right wingers who want to take it over, um, and keep the status quo. Yet the status quo is disintegrating. It's an educational disaster, and that event reinforces my complete disgust with Democrats, which perhaps brings me to the distinction between Trump and Biden. It was often said that Trump was the worst president that's ever been, or perhaps the worst president since Warren Harding, or whatever. But clearly, Biden is worse than Trump, by a long shot. I mean, why is he worse? Well, okay, but I do believe in the Affordable Care Act. I believe in healthcare for everyone. I believe in the environment. Clearly, the Democrats support universal healthcare, or in some degree they support it through the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. And yeah, that's a good reason to support the Democrats. But on the other hand, if you support the Democrats, you are effectively supporting nuclear war. I mean, basically, the nuclear war. The Democrats are causing massive instability around the world. I think that the Democrats still haven't recovered from losing the 2016 election, and they want to blame the Russians, when in fact they can't accept that the culpability lay with Hillary Clinton, who ran an extremely bad campaign. I think she refused to visit Wisconsin, believed that rainbow alliances would see her through. Yeah, I'm ranting a bit here. But what I wanted to do was actually look at Donald Trump's horoscope, and look at the trouble he is supposedly in right now. Because on May the 9th, there was this court case. It was a civil case. It wasn't like he was found guilty of anything. Um, but a civil jury awarded damages against him to this what's her name? It'll show up soon. This woman, who made accusations about what he did in the mid 90s, and it seems that the jury, by and large, believed her, and I think awarded damages of $5 million against him. I don't know whether this is a problem for him, but this is something we will consider. So here we have a chart. In the middle, we have Donald Trump's horoscope. In the outer ring, we've got the planets for May the 9th, when the jury found in favour of E. Jean Carroll. I think her allegation was that he assaulted her. I think in the spring of 1996. So this is what was going on, and we can see with Trump's horoscope that Saturn is now well into his 7th house, and as the 7th house in astrology is the house of open enemies, and clearly with Saturn moving into his 7th house, this has caused him a lot of trouble. We have, particularly in New York, I think, New York court system has been, the New York legal system has been really after him. So Saturn has been causing him trouble. As far as what was going on when the jury found against him, we see that Jupiter actually was coming up to a trine of his ascendant. That's a bit surprising. I mean, Jupiter is a fortunate planet, so trining the ascendant, does that show something bad happening? Maybe what it's all about is him getting into the news. He's always in the news to some extent, but the finding of the court sort of really pushed him into the news, and we don't really know how it's going to work out, because Trump has this weird way of being able to just deflect what would destroy, deflect attacks, but would destroy any other politician, and somehow use it to his advantage. I just don't know how he does it. So it may well be that, as far as Trump is concerned, this court case could actually work in his favour, amazing as it sounds. I mean, you would think that a court case relating to sexual assaults, where the jury finds against you, would be the end of a political career. And I'm sure it would be for anyone else, but perhaps not Trump. And the fact that Jupiter is trying his ascendant maybe demonstrates that. Also, on the day the jury returned their verdict, there was an exact Sun-Uranus conjunction, which was pretty close to his midheaven. Again, the midheaven is how one projects oneself into the world, and having a Sun-Uranus conjunction there, or close to this point, really did push him out there. And I suppose he can now claim that the system is against him, and his supporters will go for that, and that may help. But what I really wanted to consider was this woman, E. Jean Carroll. How does she occur to him? I mean, what is the relationship between these two people like? How is it that she can apparently cause him so much damage? Although maybe she's not causing him any damage at all, we don't know. So we can use this thing in astrology called synastry. Syn is the Greek word for with, together with, and obviously astrology. So it's a way you combine two horoscopes. So what I want to do is look at how these two horoscopes relate to one another. So let's go. So we're going to set up a chart. We're going to set up a bi-wheel. We're going to have Donald Trump in the inner circle. We're going to have E. Jean Carroll on the outer circle, and we're going to see what's going on. So outer circle, That's E. Jean Carroll's chart. Now she is, as you can see, she's a Sagittarius. Remember, Donald is a Gemini. So Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite signs. They have very different ways of working, and because they're opposite, there may be a clash there. Furthermore, she has the Sun opposition Saturn. So her Sun at 19 Sagittarius is opposition Saturn at 23 Gemini. We don't have her time of birth, but Sun-Saturn opposition, this may make her quite a disciplined person. It may mean that she has issues with members of the male sex, because Sun is a male planet. Yeah, she might be a Sagittarius, but it's Sun in Sagittarius, and in a female chart, I think the moon is more important, though in her case we don't know where her moon sign is, because setting a chart for midday, I get 1 Cancer. So she may have the moon in Gemini. In other words, she may be a full moon person. In fact, she is a full moon person, really. She was born, within a day following a full moon. That Sagittarius full moon, which would have been in the beginning of December 1943 when she was born. Now, Donald was also born on a full moon. There is his Sun at 22 Gemini. There's his moon at 21 Sagittarius. So that is kind of incredible, isn't it? That there is a link up potentially between two people who are both born on the full moon. So her Sun is hitting his moon. Her Sun in Sagittarius is right on his moon in Sagittarius. Likewise, her Saturn in Gemini is on his Sun in Gemini. So her Saturn is about restriction, causing damage, etc. So I think if you wanted to choose someone to cause problems for Donald, E. Jean Carroll would certainly be it, because of that Sun hitting, because of her Saturn is hitting Donald's full moon. Her Saturn is conjunct his Sun, opposition his moon. She is kind of hitting the engine of his chart. So I think that is it. That is the real connection there. Does this tell us about what happened in 1996? Well, I'm not going to speculate, but it is true that if you've got the moon in Sagittarius for Donald, might in some ways represent his idea of the feminine, and her Sun is on that moon, so she may have been, the way she came across may have done something to him, and maybe he behaved in an unexpected way, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know. We don't even know what date this thing was supposed to have happened. We hear spring 1996. I know people have said that when a traumatic event happens, people can't focus on the date, but I personally find that surprising, maybe because I'm really good at remembering dates. I mean, my brain is frazzled in many different ways, but yeah, I'm really stupidly good at remembering dates. I mean, that's so irrelevant, so useless, having a memory for dates, and certainly traumatic events in my life, even going right back to when I was 3 years old. Yeah, the dates are important to me, Yeah, I mean, I think we've certainly got a tie-up here between the two charts, and I think we can see how I Ching Carroll um, was able to cause him so much damage. Um, and I think we have to say that there is a karmic element to it. Um, Maybe part of her destiny was to turn up when she turned up and cause Donald a huge amount of damage. Whether or not she'll be able to stop his political career in its tracks, I don't know. Um, my feeling is that the answer is no. I think that this court case is probably just going to be a hiccup. Am I using astrology for that, or am I just using my gut feelings? I don't know, probably my gut feelings. So that's not an astrological comment. Anyway, I've talked too much about this subject, and so I'm now going to switch gears and talk about the astrology for today, which is Friday, May the 12th, 2023. The moon continues its movement through Aquarius, where it makes a square to Uranus and a square to the Sun. You know, there is the Sun Uranus conjunction. The moon is making a square to it. So that suggests to me that a lot of us are going to be very independent minded, and we're not going to be in the mood for compromise. And when you've got moon square Uranus, you just don't want to compromise. We will stick to our view of the world and what we want to do through hell and high water. So be careful. If ask yourself whether it's really worth it to stick to your guns. Is it so painful to compromise? Sometimes a little bit of give can go a long way towards making the world a happier place. On a more positive note, the planet Mercury is starting to make a sextile to Venus, and Mercury and Venus are a very creative, artistic pair. So if we want to do something that's artistic or creative, or we perhaps want to give a talk, a lecture or something, we can really do a good job. So if you have a chance to do public speaking today, don't be afraid. Just be honest. Tell people about your ideas and your creativity, and I think you'll get a good reception. Now, another thing I should point out is that Jupiter is now at the very end of Aries. It's 29 degrees, 4 minutes Aries. In a few days' time, it will leave Aries. And I think it won't come back for another 12 years. So for many of us, it's a change. If we're an Aries, for example, we may have really benefited from Jupiter moving through our star sign, but now it's changing. Jupiter's going to move into Taurus, which is a very different influence, more materialistic, but perhaps more sensuous, more into the creature comforts, that kind of thing. And I will hopefully make a video in a few days' time about what it means for Jupiter to be in Taurus. What else? Well, I suppose I should point out that Mercury is conjunct the Venus-Saturn midpoint. A few of us are going to be quite misanthropic in what we say. We're going to say things which may undermine the emotional side of things. We might be dismissive of people's emotions. We might say it's all nonsense. Or, in terms of relationships, we might want to just focus on the details, or we might want to just point out what's wrong with something, almost for the sake of it. So be careful with what you say. Don't undermine people's sense of emotional security. Don't make people unhappy for the sake of it. Although I understand sometimes you have to make people unhappy. What do they say? One's job is not to comfort the disturbed, it's to disturb the comfortable. So if someone is comfortable and complacent, maybe it's our job to bring them down to earth. But you have to use your judgment on that. Now, as far as the 12 signs of the zodiac are concerned, here are my forecasts. Aries, there are things you want, but circumstances and events get in your way. Try to relax. Taurus, you've got lots to say, and your creative and artistic skills are amazing. That is because Venus, ruler of Taurus, is making a sextile to Mercury. Gemini, you can see how things are, and you won't be blinded by emotional distractions. Cancer, at work, there is something that needs to be resolved. The sooner the better. Leo, other people are difficult, or perhaps rather touchy. In most cases, you should do what you think is right. Virgo, you've got a certain charm, but for best results, avoid getting too close to any one person. Libra, if something doesn't make sense, then you need to take action. Don't allow yourself to be gaslit. Scorpio, things happen that aren't your responsibility. Careful preparation counts for everything. Sagittarius, the period of changeover is starting. Jupiter, ruler of Sagittarius, is on the verge of changing sign, as I've just discussed. And nothing, Sagittarius, can last forever. Capricorn, financial plans need to be revised. Perhaps it is about preparing for the unexpected. Aquarius, you're resting between tectonic plates. You feel the pressure, but you realize what the solution is. And Pisces, something is hidden, but its impact is obvious. Silence is golden. Now, as far as the I Ching is concerned, as usual, threw up the coins, asking the question, what is Friday going to be like for visitors to my YouTube channel? Now, the first hexagram I got was hexagram number 48, which is the well. The well represents something that's always there. You know, that is your talents. That's your ability. Doesn't matter what happens, and also your character. Talent, ability, character, it's always going to be there. Circumstances may change, but you are not going to change. And you're always going to be available for the right person, certainly in a professional and business sense. You know, you're there to do something amazing, or at least that's the way it should be. But sometimes you feel as if other people aren't using you. They're not taking advantage of everything you've got, and that might make you feel, upset. Yeah, but don't worry. As the day progresses, you can start thinking, okay, that your talents are not being fully used, but okay, you can do things to improve your own talents, to make yourself even better, even more knowledgeable, even more skillful, and maybe you won't be noticed, but that doesn't matter because you are preparing for the future. And I think there will come a point in the day when you will start getting recognized. But hold on, then what happens? Because we move to another hexagram, which is a hexagram for conflict. And I think the problem there is that if we really are able to show people what we can do, we may ironically make the problem worse, or it might appear that way because people will not recognize it. People will not be happy about what we're doing, hence a conflict. I think that might be about if we use our knowledge and experience to tell people how things are, they may not appreciate what we say, hence conflict. But if people don't want to listen to our advice, really, that is our problem. Sorry, that is their problem and not ours. So you can keep working on yourself, and don't worry, you don't have to be recognized today. You don't have to be helping people out today. If they don't appreciate who you are and what you're doing, really, that is their loss, not your loss. Anyway, that is all I'm going to say for today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.